Today, we're literally digging into one of history's biggest and most secret construction projects, a massive network of fortresses hidden right under our feet.
We always think the biggest secrets are locked away in some dusty archive, right? But what if I told you some of the most incredible secrets of World War II aren't in classified files at all? Nope, they're buried, sometimes just a few feet beneath the ground, just waiting for someone to accidentally find them. So, let's jump right in. Our story kicks off back in 2018, in this quiet, unassuming forest in Poland. It's there that a discovery was made that would unlock a totally forgotten chapter of the war.
Okay, so picture this. You're part of an excavation team, just doing your job, and you find this weird pipe just sticking out of the forest floor. Kind of strange, right? So you send a camera down, 30 meters deep, and what you find on that camera feed, well, it's something local authorities have been desperately searching for years. Because this wasn't just some old tunnel. No way. It was a perfectly preserved supply bunker from World War II. I'm talking a railway track, a mine cart, tools, everything just left there untouched for almost 80 years. It was like a time capsule sealed shut by soldiers on the run.
And here's the thing that'll really blow your mind. This bunker they found in Poland, it wasn't some one-off, not even close. It was just one tiny piece of a massive, hidden network of thousands of these fortresses built all over the world during the war.
See, both sides, the Axis and the Allies, poured a ton of resources into building these underground fortresses. And it really came down to two critical reasons.
First, they were shields, right? A way to protect soldiers and supplies from the constant rain of bombs and artillery. But they were also the hidden brains of the operation. Secret command centers where the entire war effort could be planned and orchestrated completely out of sight. And when I say they poured resources into it, I mean it. The sheer scale of this underground construction was, well, it's hard to even wrap your head around. It was so massive that it actually caused shortages of iron and cement for everything else. And the cost? In today's money, we're talking an estimated $1 trillion. Just wow. Okay, let's put that number into perspective, because it's just so huge. The amount of money they spent per day building these bunkers back then was actually way more than the daily cost of the entire 20-year war in Afghanistan. It's an absolutely unbelievable figure. So, all of this incredible investment, all this concrete and steel, it all led to the most ambitious defensive project of the entire war, what became known as Hitler's Atlantic Wall. And don't let the name fool you. This wasn't just one long wall like you might be picturing. Oh no, it was a massive, complex system of thousands of bunkers, gun batteries, ammunition depots, all interlocked and designed for one single terrifying purpose. And that purpose was simple, and it was brutal: to stop an Allied invasion from the sea. The goal was to make the coastline of Nazi-occupied Europe completely and totally impenetrable. And just listen to this to get a sense of the scale. It stretched for 2,400 miles. Think about that, from the freezing fjords of Norway all the way down the coast to the border of Spain. Now, the Allies knew they had to break through this wall. There was no other way. But their first real attempt, back in 1942, was a brutal wake-up call. It showed them just how powerful this fortress really was. It happened at the French port of Dieppe. Canadian forces led a raid basically to test the defenses, and it was an absolute catastrophe. They were met with this perfectly orchestrated storm of fire coming from those concrete bunkers. Let the numbers sink in for a second. Out of 6,000 soldiers, over 60%, more than 3,600 men, were either killed or captured in just a few hours. They were just caught in this devastating crossfire with nowhere to go. It was a complete disaster, no question. But, and this is a really crucial point, it gave the Allies some incredibly valuable, hard-won intelligence. They paid a terrible price for it, but now they knew exactly what they were facing. And that knowledge would shape their next attempt, which would go on to become the largest amphibious invasion in all of human history. Okay, so fast forward to June 6, 1944, D-Day. The Allies, armed with the brutal lessons from Dieppe, came back to France, and this time, they brought a force the world had never seen. It started with 156,000 troops, all carried across the English Channel by a massive armada of over 5,000 ships. While up above, A staggering 11,000 aircraft basically darkened the skies. They were providing cover, dropping paratroopers behind enemy lines, just creating chaos and hitting the defenses from the inside.
And look, the fighting was brutal. The losses were heavy, especially on beaches like Omaha. But in the end, the sheer, overwhelming scale of the D-Day operation was just too much for the Atlantic Wall. The fortress was breached, and the liberation of Europe had begun.
Which brings us all the way back to where we started, in that forest in Poland. If these bunkers were so important, and there were literally thousands of them, how come so many are still lost today?
Well, it really comes down to a few key things. First, the camouflage was incredible. I mean, they literally buried some of these things and planted entire forests on top of them. Second, when soldiers were retreating, they'd often seal the entrances on their way out. And finally, you just have the sheer chaos of the end of the war. Maps, official records, so much of it was either lost or deliberately destroyed. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other huge secrets from our past are still out there, just lying right below the surface, completely hidden from view, just waiting for someone to find them by accident?